Wow. Okay. Lawlers, welcome back to another beginner's guide. This time we are covering off Yone, however you want to pronounce it. It's Yasuo's brother, and we're going to be rocking him in the mid lane here for a quick tutorial. So in the shop, generally you're going to want to pick up a Doran's shield. I know they recommend the Doran's blade, but you actually want to grab Doran's shield with Yone. The most efficient way that, or I guess the safest way to play him as a beginner is with as much sustain as possible. So you want to pick up that shield so you have a little bit more health up front and you have some health regeneration. If you've played Yasuo, he's similar to Yasuo, but we're going to cover off the abilities anyway and just talk about some basic trading and laning patterns that you want to look for to maybe kill your opponent, or at least get enough gold in a safe way that you can grab some items and become powerful enough to, you know, one-shot people with your combo. So passively, Wave the Hunter, Yone has two blades, obviously, as you can see. One blade's going to deal auto attack damage with attack damage, the other one's going to do some magic damage. So it's good because your damage is a little bit of a hybrid in that sense. It deals some AP and some AD, which is good. That means it's tougher to itemize against Yone. The ability you want to learn first is Q, your Mortal Steel. This is basically a no mana cost, and you'll notice Yone has no mana. So it's just a short range kind of stab with your sword. So you can use this to last hit minions from a safe distance, especially if you're playing against a ranged mage like Ziggs here. You want to just kind of let the wave push into you safely and just kind of use your Q for last hits like that. If you can get an auto off for it, it's perfect too, but you want to try and just make sure you use it at a safe distance. Now you'll notice if you hit two Qs in short succession, you'll see this blue circle show up around you and kind of like this wind force around your character. That's basically, wow, that missed. That's basically when you stack up two Qs, you can use the next Q, so your third Q, as a dash that also knocks people up and deals a little bit of area of effect damage. So we'll try that here in a second. So you see you kind of Q from distance to get these safely. You get two Qs in a row, you got this wind force around you, and now you can use your third Q to dash and knock up and start trading with them if you want. So there's a few ways that you can use that dash. You can use it to go over walls like this, for example. You can also use it to escape a gank. So if you want to dash backwards away from somebody, you could also do that. So I'll just show you here in a second. So let's say I was getting ganked from this direction here. You can just dash back to your turret like that and dodge skill shots if you need to as well. So that's your Q, okay? The better you get at it, the more, you know, use cases you'll find, but in general, you use it to kind of farm very safely and then also dash in and engage on a champion if you want to. Again, because Yone's melee range, you're going to need to close distance somehow if you want to start to trade with some of these mages. Okay, second ability we learned was E. This lets you kind of dash a very short distance, and it's almost like a Z ult. If you've played Z, it kind of lets you have a shadow that you're going to pop back to eventually. So you can press E again a second time after you cast it to bounce back early, or you can just leave it and after I think 5 seconds you're going to jump back to your original body's location. Okay, so we'll try that here. We'll dash up a little bit. We'll Q and miss, but now I can press E and come back over here so I avoid any further damage. So you'll notice even though we're not really aggressively trying to get last hits because we've been talking about abilities and just kind of basic trading combos, we've taken a lot of damage. That's why you want to make sure you have your Doran shield and you use your Q to kind of poke and farm safely. Okay? Last ability that you want to pick up in your first three basic abilities is your W's Spirit Cleave. This kind of in a V in front of you deals some damage and also grants you a shield for how many champions you hit. As you level up, max your Q, it's your shortest cooldown and also deals the most damage, and it's your main in-lane ability. Okay, so here we'll dash forward, Q, use your W to get a little bit of a shield, keep following because you know you're going to pop back to your location anyway, and then there you go. So that an example right there is your perfect kind of lane trading combo with Yone. You want to wait till you have all your abilities ready, and then you want to E in, maybe use your third Q to dash and close even more distance, and then start just beating them down with auto attacks and your W to grant you a little bit of that shield at the start of your trade, okay? So you'll see here, we're just using our Q to help us get last hits now, right? And then you remember your third Q, you can use as the dash, and your W deals damage in front and grants you that little shield, that little red orb that pops up around you. Okay, so we're going to wait for the Ziggs to come back to lane. I'm going to pop my potion just so we kind of get back to full health maybe. But a big tip for Yone, if you're just playing him as a beginner, is because he has no mana and you have an ability that lets you damage minions very easily, a lot of players will push very fast and they'll put themselves in very tough positions to get ganked. Okay, you want to be careful that you don't just spam Q on the wave mindlessly and get yourself in a position where you're always stuck this far out in the lane, because Yone, while he has a dash with his E like this and his Q, you don't really have a hard kind of disengage where you can jump away, right? Where you're going to return back to that body's location. So you want to be very careful with kind of overextending in your lane and being in a position like this where you're going to be in danger from ganks or just from getting all in from the enemy champion. So once you kill somebody or you have a good spot to push the wave, you want to use all of those abilities to push the wave really, really fast, get it into tower, and go back and buy. So that's what we're going to do now. So we managed to get a great kill there on the Ziggs. We have about 1,300 gold, which is perfect for a first back. You want to build your Berserker's Greaves first with Yone, okay? Attack speed is massive, massive, massive on champs like Yone and Yasuo because it lets you use your Q faster. Okay, and that's very, very key, as we've just realized to Yone. His Q is a big part of his kit. It lets him farm, lets him trade, lets him last hit, it lets him dash and kind of move distances. Very, very important. So you want to rush these Greaves, at least with the way the current items are on Yone. So you want to rush those Greaves, okay? After that, you can build into the recommended items, which are the Phantom Dancer and the Infinity Edge, because the second part of Yone's passive is your critical strike chance is doubled. So as long as you get to 50% critical strike, that means you're going to be able to start doing some damage. So here we E in, we use our W, we use our Q, keep auto attacking, right? Weave those auto attacks in, and then we took him to half health. Now, the cool thing is with Yone's R, Fate Sealed, kind of dashes forward in a set direction, ends up behind the enemy champion, knocks them up in the air. So you want to see if you can use that to kind of all in while you're in your E form, your Soul Unbound, because when you snap back, you're going to repeat 25% of all the damage you dealt to the enemy champion upon returning to your body, okay? So we're going to stack up 2 Qs here so we can kind of do 2 knockups in an all-in. We'll show you the all-in combo here, okay? So you want to stack 2 Qs, and then we're going to E in, Q forward, R back while he's popped up, ignite, and then just keep beating him down, okay? There you go. So there's probably a lot to take in there, especially if you're a beginner, right? Chaining your combos effectively is important. But essentially what we did there is we just pressed Q twice before we decided to trade. We stacked up our third Q, which knocks people up and lets us dash, right? So we can cover a large portion of distance, even against a ranged champion, and knock them up. And while they were knocked up in our second Q, or our third Q, we ulted them. Now the reason you want to make sure you knock them up first before you press your ult is your ult's a skill shot, and there is a slight delay before you actually dash forward. If you're playing against a good player, they'll dodge it pretty easily. So you want to make sure you knock them up so you can't miss your R. Alright, now that we've got a kill, we had some more gold, so we're going to buy this Cloak of Agility. Again, we're trying to rush attack speed and rush critical strike chance on Yone so that we deal more damage with our auto attacks, because critically striking someone lets you deal a lot more damage with your auto attacks. Alright, so now that we've kind of covered off all his abilities, some basic combos, and an all-in, I'm just going to show you guys quickly now how you can kind of harass your laner. So anytime you have a chance to kind of E in, W, press a Q, a second Q, and just auto attack, you want to do that, okay? Because if you can get the person down to around 50%, that's when you can start to really become a danger to them, and they won't even try and farm, right? So if you can do that as well, it's really cool because Yone can clear waves very fast with his Q and his W. Their area of effect, you can damage multiple units, and they have a short cooldown, right? So if you can get someone to 20%, 30% health and force them to recall, you can push waves into towers very fast. And if you can do that, then they're going to miss farm. You're going to get plates. That's going to be more gold. It just kind of snowballs, right? So in that way, he is kind of like an assassin champ. You want to make sure you're snowballing your leads as much as possible. So you can see there, I used my third Q, my dash, to get away from that tower and dodge his skill shots. Okay, so we have our R up, so we're going to do another all-in combo just so you guys can check that out again. So the all-in combo, in the easiest way to land it is you want to stack up your Q twice. Wow, we took some damage there. So stack up your Q, right? Get that dash and that knock up on it, okay? So we're going to stack it up one more time. Now we're going to E in and try and knock him up. And while he's knocked up, R, W, and just keep pressing Q and auto attacks. Okay? Very easy combo to execute. Just try it a couple times in a normal game or in practice tool. You just got to get the hang of landing. Your Q into your R. That's really the biggest thing. But again, we killed him here, so we want to push the lane as fast as possible. Try and use your Q on multiple minions so you can get that push and then get these plates. Okay? So in terms of runes, if you're up against a very tough matchup, you can run Fleet Footwork in the Precision Tree, which gives you a little bit of healing back every so often when you auto attack something. So that's good. If you're up against a matchup where you feel a little bit more confident, like you know you're going to be kind of face smashing your keyboard and duking it out with someone, I'd still run Conqueror. I'm running Conqueror right now. As long as in your second tree you're running Taste of Blood and Ravenous Hunter to give you some more lifesteal back, that's completely fine. So, you know, experiment, see what you want. So here again, even with without our ult, we'll do our combo. So 2 Qs, right? And then E in, Q forward onto him, W, auto attack, Q, and just keep following. Okay? So you don't even need your R once you get fed enough. Yone deals a sick amount of damage. It's similar to Yasuo, where once you get your critical strike chance up, your auto attacks are so devastating that if you get somebody behind in lane, you can actually just keep stomping them hard like that. And the EQ dash, right? Like your E dash isn't super long. You can see here, it's just like, you know, a little bit more than maybe half the distance of this small platform in the mid lane, right? So it's not huge. It's more of if you pair it with your Q, your third Q dash, you can cover a lot of distance, right? So let me just stack up my Q 2 times here, and we'll just experiment to see how far of a gap you can actually close. So we've got our Q stacked up, so now we'll press E, Q right there. That's kind of like the distance you can close in about a second if you pair up your E and your Q together. That's really your goal, okay? So we have our ult actually. Let's stay and do the all-in combo one more time before we grab our final item and maybe just try a roam. If we roam bot, we'll see if we can show a gank pattern here. So we've got our Q loaded up. We're going to E, Q forward, R into him, W, auto attack Q. Just keep spamming your abilities after you land that knock up Q and knock up R. Just spam everything you can, okay? Make sure you weave in those auto attacks. Don't just be slamming Q on your keyboard non-stop or you're going to miss out on a lot of auto attack damage, which is critical strike based, which means it's a lot. So don't lose out on that. Okay, Yone really spikes the hardest when you get these 3 items. That's when you're at 100% critical strike chance, you're dealing massive amounts of damage with your auto attacks, your Qs, and because of the Infinity Edge, all of your other abilities are going to be amped up with damage. So we won't go that far in this video, but I'm going to maybe push one more wave in and then go gank either top or bot just to show you guys how you can use your E and your Q dash to gank a lane as well. So let's grab these minions here. Again, once you're in control of a lane, especially as a mid laner in this current meta, you want to push and you want to roam and put your power into other spots on the map. So we're going to get that third Q stacked up. Even if you don't want to E, you can just Q into them like that, right? If you want to save your E for whatever reason. Alright, so you just Qs, Ws, and auto attacks. We didn't even need the E there. Okay, so let's go gank this Cass. She's low.
The road to ruin.
So again, before you roam, you always want to try and push, and with Yone, pushing is very easy, right? You can do it in a matter of seconds like that. Make sure you get your gold and your experience. Don't fall behind, you know, just because you pick up a couple kills and you think you're ahead by roaming around and not getting your gold or your items, okay? So let's take a quick peek. Is she here? She's back, but we'll see if we can surprise her in this bush over here, okay? This is obviously something that you might not be able to pull off in your games, but we're going to hang out back here, okay? When you don't have your third Q stacked up, you're gonna have to try and get good at landing your E into your R to engage and start off a combo. Okay, that's another way you can do it. You might not have your third Q available. If you're running through the jungle, for example, you might not have it. So here we're gonna actually engage with our R, right? E to dodge some of this stuff, right? And then you do it like that. Okay, now the reason I use the E still in the middle of the combo there is because you have to remember when you snap back to your E as you level it up, now we're going to repeat 32.5% of all the damage we dealt while we're in our E. So I could have even started the combo off with E there and dealt even more damage, but you just want to make sure that if you're trying to all in someone, you don't forget to use your E. Even if it's just something like to here, and then you start attacking them in this distance here, use it, because when you pop back, you're going to deal a little bit more damage. You're leaving damage on the table if you don't use your E in a combo. Alright, you can see even with one item here and a boots, we're dealing sick amounts of damage. So we're going to use an E here to pop over this short wall. Q, W, auto attack, Q, W, auto attack. That's it. Done. Right, we even added Ignite in there just to really push the issue. And that's Yone, guys. I mean, I find him much easier to play than Yasuo. So if you're looking at Yasuo versus Yone and you're trying to decide, oh, who should I play? I really like these like samurai-style mid laners that deal attack damage than these samurai swords. I'd honestly stick with Yone right now. He's a little bit easier. Yasuo is a little bit less forgiving in terms of his dash and his damage output. In terms of like once you go in, it's a little bit harder to get out. With Yone, you can kind of like jump over walls. Right? You can go over walls, flash in, Q, W, like we're all the way over here, and then you can just press E again to snap back. It's a little bit more forgiving, I find, and there's a little bit more forgiveness in the fact that once you go in, you know you can get out when you want. So give him a go. Let me know in the comments if you guys had any questions about Yone, his build, his runes, trading patterns, playing against certain champs. Happy to try and answer whatever I can, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.